Hey guys, this is Homework with Miss Ray. It is Wednesday, February 12th, and we are working on paragraph development. How do we determine what details to put in our paragraph so it's not too wordy and so we don't have anything that's unnecessary? Okay, so let's just do a quick recap. We are still working with the 5 stories, and we already decided which stories we're going to use for our paragraphs. We have already created our thesis statement and our introduction. So now I'm going to be looking at both. Zoe and I decided that we were going to do a positive and a negative. So that's what we're going to stick with. So we decided to do the positive story with the mother with the son who had seizures. So what I'm going to do is think about what details do I actually need to focus on. Do I need to mention that she went to the beach and cried in the rain? Probably not, right? I do need to mention that she's a mother. So that's going to be something that I'm going to focus on. And I do need to focus on the fact that her son was, at 1 year old, she discovered that her son was going to be blind. So that's important. Okay, I need to mention that. That's one detail. I also need to mention that she tried everything that she could to help her child. Okay, and I also need to mention that even though she was worried, she honestly never gave up. Okay, those are 3 details that are important to this story. Okay, so let's go ahead and tag that in there. So remember, our topic sentence just restates our thesis. It is important to have support in your life because you will have someone to help you when life is tough. Okay, I'm going to shrink this down a bit. Actually, do it like this. All right, so I'm restating my thesis. It is important to have support in your life because you will have someone to help you when life is tough. So my very next sentence, I'm just going to introduce who I'm talking about, okay? She's not dead, she's still alive. This is a recent story. There is a mother who found out that her 1-year-old son would be blind. And we have a commas in the series here. Would be blind, have seizures, and a brain tumor. Period. I'm done with that. Okay? I'm going to give another detail from the story. Okay? She was afraid and unsure of what to do to help her son, right? Going into those categories about how she felt. Now I'm going to give my last detail about it. Even though she was afraid, she didn't give up on her son. She searched high and low for doctors to help her understand his condition. Okay? So once I have that piece, and I put 2 sentences in there, and that's okay. If one sentence is not enough to get your point across and it's going to be on topic, you can totally add another sentence. It's okay. Now I need to reflect on how this connects to the thesis. In this section, I'm not going to talk about the mom. I'm going to focus on the son because the son is the one who's getting the support. Thinking about how her son feels knowing that his mother is there reassures him that even in difficult times, he has his mother by his side. Okay? So let's look at it all together. It is important to have support in your life because you will have someone to help you when life is tough. There is a mother who found out that her 1-year-old son would be blind, have seizures, and a brain tumor. She was afraid and unsure of what to do to help her son. Even though she was afraid, she didn't give up on her son. She searched high and low for doctors to help her understand his condition. Thinking about how her son feels knowing that his mother is there reassures him that even in difficult times, he has his mother by his side. Okay? So notice how I brought up difficult times. Okay? Reassuring him, knowing he can trust that she's not going to disappear. Right? So that's my first paragraph. So altogether, that's 6 sentences, and we want to have at least 5. Okay? So I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. So we decided to do the Afghanistan soldier who was in Afghanistan. He didn't really have a lot of people, reaching out to him. When he came home, he was pretty alone, and it was just a really sad situation. So let's look at that story to see which details do we need to actually pinpoint in our essay. So because I want to talk about how lonely he was, I'm actually going to bring up what it was like for him in Afghanistan. So let's see. I'm going to bring up how he was looking forward to coming back home and catching up with his friends. Okay. I'm also going to mention, because I need 3 details, I'm going to mention how when he came home, he really didn't have any support and he was by himself. And lastly, I'm going to mention how alone he was and how he actually thought about the girl. Okay? Those 3 details are going to really hit home to knowing what it's like to being by himself. Okay? So I could bring up the girl, or I could focus on how he was by himself the whole time. Either or, depends on the punch you want your essay to have. So same thing, topic, sentence. However, remember, because we're doing contrasting ideas. However, if you don't have someone to support you, comma, you could feel lonely and have a negative outlook on life. However, if you don't have someone to support you, you could feel lonely and have a negative outlook on life. So now I need to introduce who I'm talking about. There was an Afghanistan, and yep, I know I was going to spell it wrong. Let's just copy and paste. There was an Afghanistan soldier who, why can't I spell today? Soldier who was looking forward to returning home and seeing his family and friends again, right? That's how it started off. Now here's another detail. But, no, we're not going to start wrong. Unfortunately, nice transition, when he returned home, there was no one there to greet him. Okay? Now I'm going to close with the piece that goes back to my thesis. How does he have a negative outlook? This section focuses on him being lonely. Now I need to focus on how his outlook is negative. He would sit at home and think about his life in Afghanistan. And no, I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the girl. As he sat alone, he reflected or he thought about the girl he saved, and if, like him, she was, let me see, alive now. I wonder if she was still alive, and did she want to be? Okay. As he sat alone, he thought about the girl he saved, and if, like him, was she happy to be alive? Okay. So now I need to reflect back to the negative outlook. And I'm going to think about him since there's not many other people. Or I'm going to think about his friends and family who really weren't there for him after being in Afghanistan, experiencing war and seeing all those other things and how it can affect someone. So, when a soldier returns home, he needs family and friends to help him overcome the painful experiences he experienced. Without that comfort, many soldiers spiral. And if you want to use spiral, you could say sink into a depression or sink into a sadness. Okay? So, I was able to use my knowledge of soldiers and war and PTSD to make a connection to that. Okay? So, I have my 2 paragraphs. I have my details. Notice my details here for both. Okay? My details are very specific. They're not wordy. They're not unnecessary. They're really straightforward and to the point. Okay? So, I introduced my example. I told you who it is I'm talking about and the situation that they're in. I gave you a detail, maybe about how they felt. Both of these sections here in the middle, these both tell you about feelings, okay? The mother was afraid. When he returned home, there was no one in there, okay? And this last one kind of puts it in perspective. My last piece tells you about someone being there when life is tough. My last one talks about his negative outlook. Okay, he's thinking if that girl was happy to be alive. Is he happy to be alive? Probably not, right? There are circumstances where he possibly could have died in Afghanistan, but he's alive, and yet, should I be alive when no one really cares that I'm here? So, that is something to consider. So I want you to think about your own details. Remember, we should not have the same thing. Yours should be different from mine. So I want you to create your own topic sentences, your 3 details, and then the reflection that connects to the thesis. I will be looking for these tomorrow. So you need to have a chart that's similar to mine in your interactive notebook. See you guys tomorrow.